In the comments section of one of our videos, Bailey007 asks, why does halloumi squeak? Bailey, we suspect that you're just taking the mick, but you know what? The answer turns out to be really interesting, so we're doing it. First of all, this is halloumi, and yes, indeed, oh, it does indeed squeak against my teeth. The question is why? It comes down to a science known as rheology, which is the study of viscous to elastic components and how they interact in a material. Let me show you what I mean. So here I have 3 cheeses.
Squidgy brie, firm cheddar, and the squeaky halloumi.
Now all of them have combinations of protein and fats or oils, but 2 of them don't squeak and 1 of them does. What's going on? Well, brie has a huge amount of oil. It's got 60 to 75% butter fat. Why is it runny and why doesn't it squeak? Well, the oil resists being pressed on. So when I bite on brie, yes, there's some pressure, but it doesn't spring back. It just flows. Like the oil here, I can press down on this plunger in this cafetiere full of oil, and it takes some force to push it through. When I let go, there's no spring back. That's viscosity. Now, cheddar and halloumi are different. They have a lot of protein, not as much fat. And it's that protein that's going to be important because protein, unlike oil, is springy. When I press on it, it springs back. If I have a whole cafetiere of pretend little proteins, I can push down on it and resist, but when I let go, it springs back up again. That's the elastic component inside the cheese. So when I bite down on cheddar, it resists. It may spring back a little, but it certainly doesn't squeak. Why? It comes down to the traditional process by which they're both made.
Cheese is made by coagulating protein, specifically casein, out of milk to create curd. The most common ways of doing this are making the milk more acidic, and that usually involves adding lactic acid bacteria that normally produce acid, or a mixture of enzymes that chop up the proteins called rennet, or a combination of both of these things. Cheddar is made by treating cow's milk with a combination of bacteria and rennet. Once the solid curd is separated from the watery whey, the bacteria go on to mature the cheese, adding in that distinctive flavor. But halloumi is made differently, and that's for good reason.
Halloumi is traditionally made in Cyprus, which is an island in the eastern Mediterranean. It's very hot. So the sheep and goat herders wanted a way to preserve the milk as food in this hot climate.
They were looking to avoid using bacteria that could risk spoiling the cheese, so instead they just used the enzyme. It was extracted from animal stomachs. This makes halloumi less acidic compared to cheddar. And just in case there are any bacteria hanging around,
they simply cooked or boiled the curds in the whey and added some salt. This preserved the cheese well and allowed it to hold up in the heat. Why is this important? Because it makes the casein very tight and elastic.
And that elasticity is the key to squeakiness.
Here's a clean plate. When I rub my finger on it, it squeaks. This is because the skin on my finger is catching on the surface, and then as I pull harder, sliding along a little bit, and then catching again, and then sliding. And that movement is a vibration. That vibration comes through the plate like an amplifier, and we can hear the squeak. If I have grease on the plate, my finger will just slide and not catch. Thus the term, squeaky clean. You learned something here. So what's going on with the cheese is the same thing.
The tightly packed rubbery proteins are gripping on our teeth, flexing, and then releasing,
giving us that telltale squeak that we can hear inside of our heads. That tightly packed protein and lack of fat is also why halloumi can be grilled and it doesn't melt. In fact, that squeakiness is part of its attraction. It's what makes halloumi unique among the cheeses. And because of that, there is actually now a halloumi shortage, as we don't have enough sheep milk from Cyprus to make enough halloumi to export to the rest of the world. Scientists have now figured out that you can actually introduce cow's milk with the sheep's milk and combine them together to still allow for that telltale squeak. Until next time, remember that between the question and the answer are all of the really tasty bits. So, Mr. Bailey 007, do I expect you to talk? No, I expect you to squeak. Ah, 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 ah.